Well, good afternoon, Formula Sim racing fans, and welcome here to Suzuka in Japan for round 14 of the 16-round Formula Sim Racing World Championships. And if you're looking at the track at the moment, you will see without doubt that it's 99% certain that we are in for a thriller in the wet this afternoon. 53 laps of wet racing here at the incomparable Suzuka circuit. Joining me on commentary and also running the broadcast stream is Peter Schulze. Good afternoon, Peter. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm fine.
So what a challenge the drivers are going to have this afternoon. It's one thing to navigate 53 laps of this track without mishap, but to do it in the wet just lifts the intensity level about another 100%, I would say. So I'm sort of envious of what they're doing, but I'm not envious in another way, in that it will just be an absolute battle for them to get their performance where they need it to be. There's some big ramifications this round in terms of the World Championship. And during the warm-up, we'll be playing a highlights video from Singapore, which goes into detail as to all the standings. But what I will divulge to you is that essentially Journey Simičić, who's running second in the World Championship title hunt, is 60 points adrift of Mohammed Patel. And after this race, there will only be 50 points on the table. So Journey, to keep his hopes alive, has got to beat Mo by more than 11 points, which in basic terms mean Journey needs to win and Mo to come fourth or worse. And if he doesn't achieve that, Mohammed Patel will be crowned the Formula Sim Racing World Champion here this afternoon with you as a witness. So very exciting times. We've been watching the drivers in warm-up and Sander Callis and Journey Simičić were the drivers really setting the pace. So it is not, by no means, not impossible for Journey to achieve that this afternoon, but certainly the cash is on the table in terms of the championship season, and it can be won this afternoon by Mohammed Patel. Yesterday we actually had a completely wet race in the Ace event, so that was a hell of a saga for the guys to get through. About 1 hour 35 minutes of racing, and lap times, of course, are severely impacted by the wet weather. A little bit of track information for you. Suzuka, obviously a very well-known track, and has featured prominently in the real-life Formula One World Championship for many, many years. Owned by the Honda Motor Corporation and originally built to a Dutchman's design in the early 60s. The lap record, if you go and check Wikipedia and places like that, they'll tell you that Kimi Räikkönen holds the lap record from 2005 with a 1 minute 31.5. However, 1 week ago today, a gentleman called Lewis Hamilton broke that race lap record by 4.2 seconds. And the lap record now stands at 1 minute 27.3 from Lewis Hamilton's race lap last weekend here at Suzuka. We don't think the drivers will be troubling that record today purely because of the wet conditions and negotiating the 18 turns of the Suzuka circuit. There's a lot of turning, very big contrast to, say, Monza. But anyway, that's enough of a preamble. We just wanted to make you feel very, very welcome here for the stream. And the drivers will get another 15 minutes of quality. They'll get 4 hot laps, and the drivers have recorded their first attempts. And for the moment, Sander Callis is the guy who's stolen pole. We might have a little look at Journey Simičić if possible. Journey is now on a hot lap, and we can have a little look at what Journey's doing as he approaches the hairpin.
Johnny is already up 3.5 tenths to his personal best in Sector 1, and also did a purple Sector 1 just now.
Okay, so Journey's on it. Just noticing Stefanko set the purple Sector 2 in his last lap. So Journey rounding the spoon curve. It's a tricky one to judge. There's a little bit of speed and a little bit of patience required with spoon, and getting the power down while the car's still slightly rotated as they enter the 1.2 kilometre backstretch is a really, really vital part of putting the lap together. I am not entirely sure whether 130R is flat in the wet, and in fact I can tell you that it is, because Journey had his throttle pinned the whole way down that straight and around 130R. makes a nice strong exit. He's got this car nicely dialed in, touch of oversteer, which you'd expect coming onto the straight, and Journey closes that lap out to take provisional pole by half a second, but immediately answered by Mohammed Patel within just slightly under 1/10 of a second slower than Journey's lap time. So it is absolutely game on between these guys.
And Journey actually lost 2/10 in the last sector to
Okay.
Patel.
Good observation. Yeah, well, that's a lot to lose in the last sector, because the last sector is only 19 seconds long. So it must not have had the same speed that Mo had through the final chicane, the Casio chicane.
I'm just keeping a look at Sana Kellis. He's starting his lap now. He
Perfect.
was already pretty dominant on Ace yesterday in the rain.
No, 100%. Yeah, Sander blew their doors off in Ace, and he got a full wet race under his belt yesterday. So he's probably the best prepared guy on this grid, even though he is a full-time Ace driver this season. Sander he got a bit of he got a tank slap exit at 2. He might have slightly been balked. I think Florian Becker made plenty of room for him, but it might have just thrown Sander's concentration slightly. So he's decided to go again. Mohammed Patel also leaving pit lane.
I think Giordano Valeriano is the only one on a hot lap right now.
Okay.
He's just coming into Spoon. His first sector is already 1.5 seconds down to Gianni Simoncic.
And one thing for sure is that the wet conditions probably double the delta between first and last on the grid. We often see in Formula SimRacing, we'll see 10 guys on the same quarter of a second in a dry quali. But Suzuka is a track that tends to increase the delta, the gap from first to last, and wet weather does the same again. So let's see what Giordano Valeriano can do. So he finds himself in 15th place with a 146.51.
And Michi Hoyer just started a hot lap. He's coming out of Degner 2. His first sector is about 4/10 down to Gianni Simoncic, but he's about the same time as Martin Stefanko. He's currently in P3.
Okay, so it looks like a competitive sector 1. It seems that quite often the big differences occur in sector 2. Can't really think why. Maybe it's the exit of the hairpin, because a lot of the rest of sector 2 is pretty quick, but the approach and the exit of the hairpin you can bleed a lot of lap time there. Michi had a good exit of Spoon, but got a tiny bit crossed up in the beginning of the back straight. We'll have a look. He has the very slightest of lifts coming through 130R.
Oh, and there's traffic into the chicane. Oh
Daniel
no!
Giss is in the way. I tell you what, Daniel did a pretty good job moving there, and Michi did a pretty good job avoiding him, but it still would have taken something out of his focus and out of his lap time. So it looks like he's going again. It looks like he's been fueled up for 2 hot laps, which is not such a bad idea, because you can get significant track evolution if the rain sort of settles down just a little. Michi he's off on the grass now, and he's going to abandon that second hot lap. Yeah, it's not a bad trick that you can fuel up for a second lap and just see how it looks, because the lap counter ticks over the moment he finishes his hot lap and scores him with a third lap. So he can drive as much of that lap as he wants to see how he's going, and if he's got a really good lap time in hand, just keep going. But as long as he bails before the end of the lap, so it's not a bad insurance policy in these wet conditions.
Yeah, and Journey just started his next lap. He's already in the S's.
Okay, we'll have a little look at Journey. Gone for a driver's eye view here to see exactly what the inputs are. He's working feverishly on the wheel. He's not got one of those really conservative understeery wet setups. He's got a pretty responsive front end, so that means he's got to do a lot of counter steering when he starts to put the power down.
I would just switch to Mohammed Patel. He went purple in sector 2. Coming out of the last chicane, he's 3/10 up to his personal best.
Oh, fantastic sector 2 time, a 44.792.
He's put it in a provisional pole with a 43.18, but Sander Carlos just bested him. He went 700ths faster than Mohamed Patel, but Patel is going for another lap.
Okay, so he's doing the same thing. I'll keep an eye on Mo's first sector time.
I'll take
we'll be able to predict
Johnny.
whether or not he decides to bank that second lap or retire and fire another one off.
And Johnny is 300ths down to his personal best, but remember he lost 200ths in his last sector.
2/10 even.
2/10, yeah, sorry. But he gets lots of oversteer out of the chicane.
So Journey has just, Mohammed, by the way, has just done a PB in sector 1.
Johnny manages to improve by a bit over 1/10, but it's still in P3, and he's also going for another lap.
Yeah, Mo is 0.23 of a second up on his previous best that put him on pole in sector 1. So Mohamed Patel is absolutely on a hot one. He did a 44.792 last time around, which you so accurately observed. This time round, what's he going to have? A 44.889.
And Journey just went half a second faster than Mohamed Patel in sector 1.
So Journey absolutely flying. I'll watch Mohamed Patel out of the... He has a little bit of a scrappy exit out of the Casio triangle from Mohamed Patel there. He does manage to go quicker. Or does he not? Pardon me.
He actually
yes, he
did
goes
go
a
quicker.
couple of tenths quicker.
Yeah, the first one in 42s. Journey is coming out of Spoon now. As I said, half a second up to Mohamed Patel's first sector.
We'll get a read him in any
And he
moment
improves
now.
another purple sector
He's
too.
up 400ths on Mohammed. So this is going to be a mighty lap from Journey Simicic. If he gets a clean exit from the Casio triangle. Oh, and he's having to fight the car. Big commitment on throttle. Oh, and what a mighty lap. 0.3 of a second quicker than Mohamed Patel. Journey is not going down without a fight, and that is a sensational qualifying lap.
And Sander Carlos, just behind these two, started another lap. He's in the S's right now. It's actually his last qualifying lap he's doing. He might have fuel for a second lap, but I think, yeah, that's his last 2 laps he's doing.
Indeed, because he's done 9, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's on his 10th lap and he's up by 1/10 in sector 1. Faster than Patel, but slower than Journey.
Journey had an incredible sector 1. The sun's just coming through these clouds. It looks like a bit of a sun shower at the moment, but I don't think we'll be. It's going to be deceptive because I don't think we're expecting dry weather.
No, I think it will rain all the way through.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
and
the
Sander gets
big
a bad,
loose.
yeah.
Yeah, he put the right-hand side of the car onto the grass, and the moment that you do that, you get incredible imbalance in the in acceleration, and it's all over. So
Just having a look at Michele Di Alessandro, currently in P4, is up by 2.5 tenths in sector 1 to his personal best.
I'll just have a little look at.
Had a bit of oversteer out of the chicane. Yeah, out of the hairpin, I mean. Now going into Spoon. Looks pretty good so far. He just needs a good exit now. Yeah, has good control of his throttle pedal.
Yeah, he's only 2 tenths down on Callis and only 1 tenth down on Mohamed Patel in sector 1.
But he lost a bit of time in sector 2.
He did. He's lost 0.4. Or
He
he's
abandoned his
retiring
lap.
from that lap.
Yep.
They've got 5 minutes left, so what Michele's done there is quite clever, really. Rather than cross the finishing line and add a lap to his tally, He's putting it in the garage, and he may even feel that the track is getting a little bit quicker, a little bit drier.
And Michi Hoyer improves by 7/10 up to P6.
Okay, so third row currently. Gosby has just done a 39.147 sector 1, which is a strong sector 1. In fact, it's 4/10 quicker than his previous best sector 1 time.
I'm just looking at Martin Stefanko. He's nearly 3/10 up to his personal best in sector 2. He's coming up to the chicane now. Gets a good entry.
Gosby has a chance to move into third or second with this as well. Oh, you keep doing what you're doing. I'll just watch Gosby for a sec.
And Stefanko goes up to P4 and seems like to do another lap. Let's take a look at Gosby.
And Gosby up to 5, so the guys are getting quicker. The bar is lifting. 3 minutes and 40 seconds remain in this qualifying session, and most of the drivers have time for another hot lap. The way qualifying is run, for any new viewers, they've got 20 minutes and a total of 12 laps. So normally that involves an out lap, a hot lap and an in lap, but as we've seen a couple of drivers do today, they've fueled up for a second hot lap and just speculatively driven, say, half that lap to see if they're up and or not, and if they're not, they'll just retire from that a little bit later rather than just the moment they cross the line.
And Simic is not on hot lap right now. He made a bad sector 1, so he abandoned it, but he fueled for a second hot lap, so he's doing his second and last hot lap now.
Stefanko is on a personal best sector 1 with a 38.988, which in fact is quicker than the pole sitter's last lap. Not sure if it's quicker than his best lap.
No, I think that's the second quickest sector 1 we have seen yet. Only Simic and Stefanko are in 38s in sector 1.
So we'll get a reading. Oh, he ran wide on 130R. He kept the throttle pinned, but he will have to abandon that lap, unfortunately. Lucky for him, he had another lap in hand. He's still got another run, because that was
and Simic is down by 6.5/10 in sector 1.
Okay, so Stefanko kicked himself and then looked and see, right, I've got 3 laps left, I can go again. So Stefanko is absolutely on a flyer and has the potential.
Oh, and Pater runs right into turn 1 and has to abandon his lap, but he has one more chance afterwards, and it seems like he also fueled for another lap.
They've got a minute 44 to cross the start-finish line to start their hot lap, which shouldn't be a problem because they're both well into the S-curve and approaching Dunlop, and the whole lap's only taking them about a minute 42 on a hot lap.
And Michi Hoyer, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Michi Hoyer also abandoned his lap after Degner 2, but he fueled for a second lap as well. So it will be pretty tight now for all the last laps, as there's only 1.5 minutes left for everyone to reach the start-finish line in time.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly, Stefanko and Patel just exiting the hairpin. Oh, they've got a minute left. Quite a few cars on track to take advantage of the last-minute dash, because of course what happens in the simulation is very much like real life. The track can dry out a little bit during the quali time, and it can get significantly faster. I mean, the guys are going 1.5 seconds quicker than they went on their opening attempts. So Mohammed Patel making his way through the Casio Triangle, about to start a hot lap, and Martin Stefanko just a few seconds behind him. So it'll be very interesting to see these guys duking it out over this lap. It'll be sector by sector to see who can match who. And in fact, Stefanko's engineer will be in his ear, telling him probably what Patel's sector times are like. So we'll share that with the audience, and you can see his combatant just up ahead of him as Stefanko enters the S curves. pushing it as hard as he dares, just measuring out steering wheel turn and throttle inputs and just giving it as much throttle as he dares without leaving the racing line and without compromising his entry. Dunlop, where he is now, it's a bit of a case of bravery and whether or not the car is going to oversteer for you, because it is long and it is fast. So
And Patel had a really bad sector 1. He's lost nearly 2 seconds in sector 1.
Wow. Mohammed Patel hasn't had a good sector 1, so maybe conditions are getting worse. In fact, you can see there Stefanko is closing on Patel. So Stefanko's sector 1 was a 39.142. He could move up a place. He's just got to make sure. And you know what? He might even get a bit of a wind drift, a draft. No, Patel's pulled off to the side, either to be polite or either to deny Stefanko a tow. Now I'm on board with Stefanko and I can see his throttle inputs, and he is absolutely pinned to the floor through 130R. Regressive braking, just easing off the braking as the aero gets off the car as you're slow, and a lot of commitment on throttle, but just keeping the car straight over the finish line, and he remains P4. So
I think that's it.
Gallant effort, indeed, Peter. So there we have the grid, the qualifying order. Journey Simicic on pole, our driver who's second in the championship. Mohammed Patel joining him on the second row. Sander Callis P3. Martin Stefanko joining him on the second row. Martin Gosby P5. Michele D'Alessandro P6. Hoyer and Maguire making up the fourth row in 7th and 8th. Daniel Kiss P9. James Sadler P10. And Eric Andre 11. Eros Masculi 12. Lucas Schmidt 13. Florian Becker 14. Arif Rosland 15, Timu Valkyravi 16, Giordano Valeriano 17, George Winter stepping up from ace for this event in 18th, Risto Caput, Jos Araneda and George Chatsapantelis. So we're going to move into the warm-up now, and I think, Peter, you've got the highlights for the viewers, haven't you?
Yeah, we actually got a highlights video of our last W3 race, and we will play that now in the warm-up session. So okay. we will see you afterwards.
Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to highlights of the Thrustmaster SimRacing World Championship from the grueling Marina Bay Street Circuit, with the barriers in constant close proximity and 61 laps ahead of the drivers. It's a real test of their concentration. In the Drivers' Championship, Mohammed Patel leads from Yerny Simicic, who has been consistently closing the gap as a result of his recent winning streak. Whilst in the Constructors, Musto have a strong lead over Flag to Flag, who are in an extremely close battle with Ghost Speed for second place. On pole for this race is Mohammed Patel, who takes his first pole position since Melbourne. However, it was not by much, as he only beat his teammate Kish by just 1,000th of a second. Gosby was third ahead of Netrex's Sander Callas and ACR's Michi Hoyer, whilst Yerny Simicic could only manage 6th, meaning it was going to be an uphill struggle to repeat his 2016 triumph. ACR reserve Robin Pansar starts 7th, with Ghost Speed's reserve Luke Maguire, D'Alessandro and Sadler rounding out the top 10. Further down the field, Jeffrey Fournier and Jordan Weeks make their WC debuts in this race. However, Eric Andre unfortunately was unable to start due to technical difficulties, while Petter Schulze starts from pit lane. With many contenders out of position, we were certainly set for an enthralling race. Lights out and Patel gets a fabulous start, however contact with Callas at turn 1 resulted in disastrous consequences for Simoncic. Whilst up front, Kish barely managed to defend from Gosby for second. Overtaking may be tricky here, but that certainly wasn't fazing Simoncic, as he had started his fight back through the field. From the way the Ghost Speed driver was slicing his way through the field, it was clear he was on a lighter fuel load than those drivers on the prime tyres. That being backed up when at the end of lap 8 he dived into the pit lane for a change of strategy and onto the prime tyre. It didn't take long for the tight and twisty circuit to claim its first victims though, as the twister of Eros Masciuli had a weird understeering moment into turn 19, hitting the wall and eventually resulting in the Italian's retirement. A few laps later, Vodbull's Risto Capit oversteered at turn 10, damaging his suspension and eventually causing his retirement. However, for the other Twister driver, things were getting interesting as D'Alessandro got a run on Sadler, but the Ghost Speed engineering driver was having none of it. The pair ran side by side for a third of a lap, however at turn 16 the pair came to blows and the ACR of Pansar had nowhere to go. Despite his strategy being ruined by his turn 1 spin, Simoncic just wasn't going to let anything get him down, as he made a pass on both his teammate Maguire before passing Pansar a few corners later, despite a little bit of contact. Meanwhile, back at the front, the Musto pair pitted at a more conventional time than their rival, indicating a 2-stop strategy. They switched to the option tyres. Meanwhile, in the midfield, Saxon and Fournier demonstrate just how tricky the Singapore pit exit can be, the contact resulting in the latter's retirement. On lap 37, Kish pitted for his second stop for a set of primes, however he rejoined side by side with the twister of D'Alessandro and the Hungarian prevailing. However, down Raffles Boulevard, the Musto driver let him through. When the Italian pitted, he was able to just get ahead of the Netrex of Callas on the pit exit. The Twister driver was on the alternate strategy, which meant he was on the option tyre, unlike the majority of the field. There was no such dramas for the leader though, as he made his final stop, easily rejoining into the lead. Things were certainly looking good for the championship leader. The grueling Marina Bay Street circuit continued to bite. Putting the power down too early at turn 7 was obviously only going to mean one thing for Jordan Weeks, sending him into retirement. Arif Roslan also fell victim to the tricky circuit as he caught the cobblestones at turn 9, damaging his suspension and causing his retirement. Musto were looking good for a 1-2 finish, however on lap 57 disaster struck second place Daniel Kish as an electrical fault put him on the sidelines. There may have been only 3 laps to go, but the battle for third was certainly not done, as D'Alessandro on option tyres had his sights set on Hoyer's third place. But today belonged to the Musto of Mohamed Patel as he crossed the line to take his 7th win of the season. Despite Kish's misfortune, this result was enough to secure the constructors from Musto Racing. Second was the ultra-consistent Martin Gosby, and Michi Hoyer managing to hold off D'Alessandro for third. Sander Callas finished in 5th ahead of Yerny Simoncic, who was able to recover to 6th ahead of his sister teammate Weiswell. Becker had a difficult race to 8th ahead of Saxon in 9th, with Robin Pansar taking the final point in 10th. 12 cars saw the checkered flag in a race packed with action and attrition. In the drivers' standings, Patel has extended his lead to 60 points, meaning he can secure the title in Suzuka if he finishes on the podium, whilst Gosby has extended his gap over 4th placed Kish after the latter's disconnection. Whilst the constructors may be sealed for Musto, the battle for second is still on between Flag to Flag and Ghost Speed, as they are separated by just 18 points, whilst Avid Chronic Racing remain in a lonely 4th. Today's race sealed the constructors, but the drivers is still up for grabs. The big question is, can Mohammed Patel secure the driver's title at the next race in Suzuka? If you think you have what it takes, check out the links below and sign up yourself. Keep up to date with FSR by following us on social media and subscribing to our YouTube channel for all the live streams and highlight videos. I have been your commentator Dave Paling, and thank you very much for watching this highlights video. Goodbye.
Welcome back everybody to the WC race here in Japan. We hope you all enjoyed the highlights video. We are just at the end of warm-up and the race here in Japan in the World Championship of FSR will start soon.
Well, and I'm on the edge of my seat here, Peter, because it's possible that the championship title may actually be won this afternoon. It could go down to the wire here because Mohammed Patel has got the opportunity to get his name carved on the same trophy as people like Bono House, Peter Briac, Jerome Quakel. If you've won the Formula Sim Racing World Championships, you are entitled to say that you are one of the fastest sim racers on planet Earth. So it is a absolutely coveted title. And whenever we field a World Championship event where we are fielding 20 or 22 of the very fastest drivers in the world. So it's an incredible target to chase that Mo's got. Journey has done the first thing he needs to do is at least get himself on pole. And just a tiny bit of housekeeping for people. The simulation we use is rFactor 2. This vehicle is effectively a 2009 Formula One car, so a naturally aspirated car with 18,000 RPM. No DRS, no KERS. So overtaking is hard to come by. You've got to sort of patiently work yourself into a position, and sometimes it's done on strategy. What do you think about pit stop numbers today, Peter? How many stops will we see?
I think that's a pretty difficult one. It's a gamble between 1 and 2 stop, I think. 1 stop is possible, 2 stop is possible, anything more doesn't make sense, I think.
Yeah, in ACE yesterday, everybody 2 stopped, and the stops occurred between lap 18 and lap 20. But, you know, they may not have known whether it was going to rain for the whole race distance. But of course, if you're 1 stopping, you are carrying so much fuel. And the fuel delta here, it's a big deal. It's a very turny track. So if there's an extra 30 litres of fuel sloshing around in your tanks, it is slowing you down for every one of those 18 turns. So it will all unfold in front of us. One thing's for sure is that the guys have got a setup optimized for wet weather, and they are definitely going to need one. Fuel consumption is slightly less on a wet track because they just are not full throttle for as much of the lap. And as they go around, I guess we should just we'll point out that the top few, and the rest of them are there on the totem pole for the viewers. Journey Simoncic and Mohammed Patel, the 2 protagonists for the World Championship crown, are on the front row. Journey is number 2 in the title hunt, but he's on pole, followed by Mohammed Patel, British driver. Sander Callis in P3. Sander won the ACE event yesterday, so he's the current ACE champion, closed that out a couple of rounds ago, and he'll be stepping up to World Championship full-time for next season. Martin Stefanko Czech driver and a bit of a young talent on the scene. He's a bit of a Max Verstappen, being a young guy with a lot of pace in World Championship. Put himself on second row. Martin Gosby, British driver and race winner at his home event this season in the UK. Michele D'Alessandro, talented Italian driver in P6, making up the other half of the third row. Michi Hoyer, a very quick German driver who's got a pole to his name but not yet a win in World Championship. And I'm sure Michi, who is the reigning ace champion from 2016, would love to close out this season with a victory to his name. It's one thing to get pole, it's another to bring it home to the checkered flag. Adam Maguire in P8, Daniel Kiss in P9, and the rest of the names there you can see on the totem pole on the left, down to Jos Araneda in P21. So hopefully the guys will get a clean start.
Yeah, I think it will be a pretty interesting one. Getting away from the start in the wet condition is way harder than in the dry conditions. And then turn 1 and turn 2 is already pretty narrow and pretty tricky after the start in dry conditions. So yeah, I think that will be pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
And I hear crashing noises.
I can hear some crashing noises too. What is happening?
It was
what is happening?
Arif Roslan.
Okay, well, fortunately, because the grid hasn't formed up yet, he's got the chance to retire to his pit box and come out and start in the pit lane, but he doesn't seem to be doing that yet.
He actually did retire to the pit box.
Okay.
I was done and starting from the pits now.
So, Peter, you're welcome if you want to take us away from the start. I don't mind either way.
I think you can do it better than me.
Okay, I'll try. So here we are, lined up on a wet grid at Suzuka Circuit in Mie Prefecture in Japan, ready for round 14 and potentially the title. The lights are on, the horns are sounding. We have 5 lights on. Lights are out and the cars are away for the first lap of this 53-lap wet event. Fairly clean start at the front, but now they've got to negotiate the tricky double right-hander turn 1, turn 2, and then Adam Maguire, a bit of a contact there with Daniel Kiss. They've both managed to keep the cars straight. There was a little bit of wheel banging here. Fortunately, it's a set of turns that does allow more than one line.
Martin Gosby and Adam Maguire are side by side into the S's. All the way through the S's.
Absolutely, they are fighting like mad. And this is a part of the track where there's really only one racing line, and Adam Maguire prevails for the moment. Really good battle there, good clean battle. The next pinch point, in fact, is the braking zone into the hairpin, because the rest of the Sector 1 flows quite nicely.
And I think Gosby actually made a mistake. He lost another place, nearly 2 places.
Who was that, Peter?
Martin Gosby actually made a mistake. He lost the position to Michi Hoyer and nearly to Eric Andre.
Okay, drivers mostly, they're safely through the hairpin, which is really the biggest pinch point on lap 1. So most of the drivers will be breathing a sigh of relief now as the lead cars approach the spoon curve, the double left-hander turn 12 and 13. Really critical for entry onto the back straight. And all holding position. Journey Simičić is holding the lead with Mohammed Patel behind him. Journey needs to put 2 drivers between himself and Mohammed Patel to keep his hopes alive mathematically of a victory in the championship. But that is truthfully going to be a massive call. But these are 2 really top drivers.
I think Mohammed Patel is actually pretty close to Simičić now. He can make a move into turn 1. He's trying it around the outside, but breaks earlier than Journey.
Big move. Florian Becker is in the pit lane. I'll try to tell you what's going on. It may be just a drive-through.
Oh, and Adam Maguire is off the track, I think. Yeah, Adam Maguire has lost his car. He fell back to P9.
Okay, interesting. Certainly on a dry track, Adam Maguire tends to favour a pretty pointy car, pretty oversteery car.
Oh, and Eric Andre goes onto the wall.
And that is game over for Eric Andre. Or there's a lot of front wing bits lying around the place. How much damage has he got? He's lost an end plate
Yeah.
on the left side. And George Chatsapancelis, big Dukes of Hazzard drift there in Degner 2. And Eric Andre was seeing a lot more of Chatsapancelis' car than he wanted to. And then Eric himself, big slide into the hairpin. So it is action-packed at the moment.
And Adam McGrath is now at the back of Martin Gosby, and who's there in front? I think Daniel Kish made a mistake in Spoon, and Michi Hoyer managed to overtake him. Or they're actually side by side now.
Nice opportunistic move from Hoyer.
And Daniel Kish tries
the
into
issue.
130R.
Please, guys, not through 130R in the wet. Thank goodness
And
Daniel
now
Kish
Martin Gosby is
decided
next to Daniel Kish. They're going side by side into the chicane.
Wow. Hard racing.
Oh, and they make contact.
Oh no, it's another tap. A double tap on the rear. That was a bit of wheel banging, and it's allowed Maguire back through. It is absolutely hammer and tongs here between these guys for P7. And Michi will be hoping that they keep fighting, because that will give him a little bit of a gap, a little bit of breathing space. Fight for the lead still incredibly close. Mohammed Patel trailing Simičić by half a second. Oh, we've got that's old contact. Sorry, I was on the stream there for a second. So pretty tight lap times, mid 146s, which are on full fuel. And the cars, of course, this year do have refueling, so the drivers will probably be fueled for 1/3 of a race distance. Fuel consumption will be just under 4 litres a lap, so 15 times, roughly 65, 68 litres of fuel at this stage, if they're two-stopping, which is the more likely outcome.
Yeah, and Mohamed Patel is still within a second to Gianni Simičić. And I think he has a good amount of slipstream right now, because he's gaining a lot down to 130R.
Yes, perhaps Journey's carrying a little bit more wing than Mohammed Patel. Journey pretty good at setting the car up. He always does his own, and he's trying to drop him. He's trying to break the toe. Looks like a cyclist moving left to right to prevent somebody.
Oh, and he makes
it's
the move.
the same deal as before. Journey just owns that apex and dares Mohammed Patel to drive around the outside of him, which in the wet is not an easy task. But this is going to be a very long 15, 16 lap stint for Journey Simičić, with Mohammed Patel just having that little bit more straight line speed. It's going to, Journey's going to have his work cut out. Journey's basically got to make the best of the rest of the lap, so he's got enough of a gap coming onto the pit straight. And there is no other driver better than just patiently lapping at great pace and biding his time than Mohammed Patel, as Michi Hoyer can attest to. If Mo needs to, he'll just save a little bit of fuel, take it easy on the car, stay close enough to pressure you, but not try anything that's going to damage his car, and just wait for you to crack. And if you don't crack, he'll attack when you pit. So it's a little bit like with the movie The Terminator. When Mohammed Patel's coming after you, it's a bit like Arnie coming after you in Terminator.
Oh, and he's closer than ever before this lap. He just needs a good exit out of Spoon, and he can overtake Journey even before 130R.
He is very close this time. So fantastic pressure, fantastic driving from Mohammed Patel. In the meantime, Adam Maguire was the fastest car around the track last lap.
And he's making a move into the chicane, does he? No, he doesn't.
This is just such an intense battle now, and Mohammed Patel is, in fact, it's brilliant, because all Mohammed Patel's got to do is follow Journey and he will become the world champion. But I know enough of Mohammed Patel that that's not enough for him.
He's trying it again around the outside, and Journey just manages to break way later into turn 1, even though he has to tie the line.
Because last time out in Singapore, just as a little insight into the mentality of Mohammed Patel won the race from pole. And the only time he was ever not leading the race was when the one other driver pitted 1 or 2 laps later than him. And in the post-race interview, he was disappointed that somebody had led a lap. because he'd hoped that he would be last to pit and so would lead every single lap of the race. So Mohammed Patel, reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton in 2008, he doesn't. Oh, and Journey's run wide at the second Degner. Oh, Journey lost drive, ran wide onto the artificial grass. Degner too is still fighting wild. What a fight back from Journey Simičić. He doesn't want to give up the position, but I'm afraid he just ran wide. Just ran wide enough at the exit of Degner 2 to lose drive on the AstroTurf, and that was all Mohammed Patel needed. Better acceleration. You don't get much traction on the wet Astro. So now the hunter becomes the hunter, and Journey has now got to chase Mo Patel.
Journey has a way bigger problem behind him. Sander Carlos has caught up to both of them, and Sander has a way higher top speed than Journey, even in the slipstream.
Sander is flying.
Oh, and he tries it around 130R. What a brave move, but he can't make it stick.
Wow, I lifted my feet off the floor then. That noise was.
Simičić made a mistake in the chicane.
The little marker, the little corner post, made a lot of noise, but it was just his barge board caught the marker post for the final chicane, and Callis has just blasted past Journey.
And now Michi Hoyer is also trying to make a move onto Journey. Oh no, it's Martin Stefanko actually.
Hoyer is on Maguire. Oh, okay, on, Stefanko on Journey. So this is not the start that Maguire is just lifted. I wonder if Maguire perhaps made an illegal move and wanted to yield the position, or is Maguire working with Kiss? That looked like a bit of a teammate wave through there. I'm not too sure. So 5 laps, we have not had a moment to draw breath. 5 laps of 53. Top 8 separated by 10 seconds. Top 9 by 11 seconds. Mohammed Patel has managed to slip into the lead after a tiny error from Simičić. And then Sander Callis has a very quick car. I wonder if Journey is just wishing for Sander to attack. And they were motorbike noises outside my window rather than Formula 1 car noises. Sorry, gang. I wonder if Journey is wishing that Sander can attack Mo and cause him some problems.
Problem for Journey is he's running extremely high downforce and has extremely low top speed.
He does, doesn't he?
So everyone who's around him is just managing to overtake him, basically, because he's so slow down the straight. Now Martin Stefanko is really close to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he is on his gearbox by turn 1. Yeah, and there he comes.
Yeah, Journey has apparently overdone the aero. I know that Journey does all of his own setups. He's basically, he's sort of one of the masters of that within his team. And
I'm just looking at the top speeds. Journey is doing 297.5 kph, while Stefanko just managed to do 314 in the slipstream.
Yep, and Patel's hit 317, so Journey is down about 15 kph in top speed, and unless you can really make that work for you in the technical sections, you're a sitting duck. And the guys with a lower wing, they don't seem to be struggling. That's one of the things with this car, which is a big contrast to last year's car. It's got a lot more downforce, the chassis itself, so you're not having to run the wings as high as we would have perhaps last year. Last year's car was heavier, a bit less downforce, narrower wheelbase, and so we were relying a lot more on front and rear wing angle. I'm just looking at the action and the rest of the grid. We've got 20 guys still on the race. Caput is attacking Masculi into 130R. So that is obviously an attack for position. Caput with a top speed of 311, Masculi with a top speed of 307. So Caput may be able to launch something on the pit straight here. Let's see what he's doing. He seems very committed, lots of throttle. In fact, he got a bit of a tank slapper that time round. And Caput is moving into the dirty air, getting that extra bit of drag removed alongside Masculi, and brave dive down into turn 1. And Caput gets the job done. So very nice move from Risto Caput.
And there might actually be a race coming up for Carlos against Patel. Carlos just set the fastest lap of a 45.0, 3/10 faster than Patel. And they opened up a gap of nearly 5 seconds to Simincic already.
Well, the top two are absolutely drawing away in a league of their own so far. Kiss pretty close to Hoyer. D'Alessandro pretty close to Stefanko. Yeah, Callis has just gone, oh, that's the lap time you called before, yeah, 45.0. That is quick around here in the wet. So very intense fighting at the moment.
And Daniel
Kiss,
yeah,
Kiss seems to be getting very close to Hoyer now. He's got more top speed too. He's 3:15 versus 3:06. Patel has just answered that lap from Callis, and Patel has done a 45 flat as well.
And Callis just managed to go into the 44s, 44.8 from Callis.
Oh yeah. So they're trading fastest laps, but well, in fact, Patel is just managing to match Callis. So Callis is getting that gap smaller. It's down to about 2 seconds. And Callis has got a fast car, although probably not any faster than Mo Patel's in top speed. But Callis, just to remind the viewers, Callis did a full distance race yesterday in the Ace division, a full wet race. What we run here in Formula Sim Racing, for those of you that are new, we run real-time, real-world weather. So we are no less than plugged into a weather station in downtown Suzuka at the circuit, and we are living with the real-time, real-world weather. If it starts to rain in Suzuka, it starts to rain on our server within about a minute. And conversely, if it does dry up in Suzuka, it will start to dry up on our track. But the weather forecast is basically for showers and more showers.
Just looking at Adam McRae, he caught up to Daniel Kish and Michi Hoyer.
Yeah, we've got two very tight groups, haven't we? We've got Hoyer, Kiss, Maguire, and then we've got Simincic, Stefanko, Alessandro.
Yeah, and Adam's car is moving a lot. He has to do a lot of corrections on the steering wheel.
We may be in for a weather change. I'm seeing cloudy but no rain at the moment at Suzuka, Japan, from the Wonder Map weather forecasting site. So there is the possibility that this rain may ease. I mean,
oh, Adam! Oh, you nearly lost it after turn 1.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I'm following D'Alessandro. The tail got very, very loose there. But this is a tight group, so what are they? They are fighting really for P4 or potentially P3 if they can attack Simincic. Yeah, we've got the first two in a group, the next three in a group, and the next three in a group. So, yeah, 2 groups of 3 fighting for P3 and P6 at this point in time. Of course, not going to predict the future too far ahead. We're only 9 laps into a 53-lap event, so there is a lot of racing to unfold. But I must say, for full wet conditions, to have 20 drivers still running and only 1 DNF 9 laps in, that is a credit to the skill level on display. Which reminds me of a point that I did make last race, and I don't want to be too repetitive and bore the people that watch every event, but if any of the viewers are wondering about the performance level required to win one of these events, Stoffel Van Dorn was racing with us 4 seasons ago, and I'm talking about the same Stoffel Van Dorn that's currently Fernando Alonso's teammate, and outperforming Fernando Alonso in McLaren Formula One team. Stoffel van Dorn did a season here with us 4 years ago and managed a best place of P3. So that is the level of performance that you can expect to find here in Formula SimRacing World Championship. Nothing short of the finest drivers in the world. If you haven't got $20 million to buy yourself into Formula One and you're one of the best drivers in the world, this is where you come. Or D'Alessandro's getting a little bit of throttle oversteer in Dunlop. So his car's just that tiny bit twitchy.
And Risto Capet is getting closer to Lukas Schmidt at the moment. Lukas Schmidt is substitute in WC for John-Eric Saxon, normally driving an ace for ACR.
Yeah, indeed. Lucas has stepped up to WC. Big honour for him to be racing in the top level, but Lucas has been scoring podiums in ace. So very, very talented driver. Kiss staying close to Hoyer, but not putting him under an inordinate amount of pressure, but staying close.
Risto's getting closer to Lukas Schmidt now, up to 130R. He's gaining on the slipstream.
And Kiss very, very close to Hoyer on the exit of Casio Triangle. Kiss is closer to Hoyer than he was. And Kiss might have a lunge. He's getting, when he pulls out of the slipstream, he hits that wall of clean air, which is so handy for downforce, but it does cost you speed. So he pulled out from behind Hoyer, hit the wall of clean air, and really lost his overspeed, lost his speed advantage on Hoyer. So it's a pretty closely fought fight between these guys at the moment. Callis has got it to within 2 seconds of Mohammed Patel, but it seems to be sitting pretty stable there, just under 2 seconds gap. So looks like Mohammed has got what he needs to answer when he needs to answer the Sander Callis challenge.
Patel is at the moment nearly 1 second faster than everyone else except Sander Callis.
Yeah, good spot. Everybody else is doing around about a 46. Mohammed doing around about a 45. D'Alessandro pretty quick last time around with a 45.4.
Oh yeah.
But, and in fact, D'Alessandro seems to be making a bit of a charge on Hoyer, on Stefanko. Car's certainly got some top speed.
Oh, and Lukas Schmidt makes a mistake in Spoon and gives the position to Risto Capet. And he loses another one to
Masculi.
Masculi, yeah. They're side by side now, coming up to 130R.
Oh, this might end in tears, guys. You can't both go through there in the wet, flat out.
Oh,
and Masculi just lifts ever so slightly. And that was a really good call. Good judgment shown by Masculi there, because these cars, they're pretty fragile. It's not a contact sport, and it's so easy to damage a front wing end plate. And Masculi lives to fight another day and shows discretion there. So the driver's now 12 laps into what's potentially for most of them going to be an 18 to 20 lap stint. So they've burned off 2/3 of their fuel. They've got a bit of tyre wear kicking in. So the balance of the car is changing. And traditionally, what we sometimes see at this point in the first stint, we start to see a bit of action. Some people perhaps lapse the concentration, perhaps just starting to feel a bit too confident in the car being lighter, or maybe imbalanced due to tyre wear. But I'm just on the edge of my seat now, waiting to see what's going to happen. Who can make a move? Who can do something before the pit stops? or D'Alessandro almost ran wide on Spoon there. So tricky to judge. You've got to bring some speed in, but bring too much speed into Spoon and you're wide, and just watching the other guy just drop you onto the back straight. But actually D'Alessandro is very close to the back of Hoyer through 130R.
Stefanko. Oh, they make
pardon
contact
me.
and D'Alessandro spins.
Oh no, all that good work. That is frustrating. What he's got to do now is do a safe rejoin.
He comes back between Hoyer and Kish.
And that's a small gap to put yourself back into. Well, hopefully he hasn't had any damage. But that's the thing. It's you can fight and you can attack, but you're gonna have to do 53 clean laps, 53 error-free laps to maximise your performance here, and that has taken quite a bit of pressure off off Martin Stefanko. He's now got Michi Hoyer as his rear gunner, and that is now 2 ACR drivers in the top 5, which from a team perspective is a good thing. George Chatsapancelis appears to have retired with suspension problem. I didn't see the incident. Although, I've just
and
heard...
Maguire as well.
I heard Maguire, I heard a crash in. I'll have a bit of a look, see if I can see what happened to Maguire.
Yeah, I will show a replay as well.
Okay.
That was the
Turn 1.
replay.
Yep.
1 second. There it is.
So dives into turn 1, misjudges his entry speed slightly, runs wide, and then rejoining. What's he doing on the rejoin? He seems to rejoin without damage,
And
but
he just
loses the
blends
car again, and this time he is big front end into the Armco. What a shame.
Oh, and D'Alessandro makes a move onto Michi Hoyer and to Spoon, and they make contact. D'Alessandro pushes Hoyer wide. Wow. Let's show a replay how D'Alessandro managed to get alongside him. Michi had a bad exit out of the hairpin.
So D'Alessandro has managed to win back that spot that he lost after that tussle with Stefanko into the final chicane. Making short work of Hoyer there. Really, I didn't see the move.
And now Kish makes a move onto Hoyer. Up the inside in turn 1.
So Hoyer now facing all sorts of pressure.
You know what? It just stopped raining.
It has? Oh wow, okay.
The rain has
Daniel
ended.
Kiss, by the way, 4th in the championship hunt. So, and no slouch, and Kiss has a win to his name.
So now it's getting interesting. If anyone has fueled up for one stop, he's able to run his red tires until there's a dry enough patch to change to slicks tires.
Well, that would be a huge advantage, because it would be heartbreaking to pit for slick tire, for another set of wets, and then find you've got to stop again for dry tires. Of course, the primes here will do easily 24, 26 laps if they need them to, but it'd be nicer to optimize the number of stops.
Oh, Daniel Kish is... Oh, he makes a mistake in 130R. I was just going to say it's getting really close to Michi Hoyer.
Callis now 1.7 seconds from Mohammed Patel, so things pretty stable there really. But yeah, definitely the rain has gone away. So the wet tyre is pretty durable, so it doesn't sort of melt away from you. It's more a case of you just start to lose performance and lose lap time. So the guys will just need to make that call, but they're going to want to see a pretty wide strip of drying line before they switch to dry tyres, because just putting one slick tyre onto a wet patch is absolute nightmare territory.
And I think Johnny Simoncic might be on a one stop, and you know why? He's so much slower than on quali.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that may well be the case.
And if he really is on a one-stop, like we saw with Lukaszek in Pro, he was slower than anyone else, but that was only because he was fueled for a one-stop, while the others around him were two-stopping.
Yeah.
If he manages to stay out until the try line is there, he can just do one stop, switch on the primes, and go to the end. If it doesn't, start to rain again.
Very interesting observation there, Peter. And we can see now just the beginnings of a dry line starting to form. So 4 or 5 more laps, and if he is on a one-stopper, he will definitely have fuel for 4 or 5 more laps. And that might give him a position or two, because people who are on a two-stop, they're going to have to make a tyre decision within a couple of laps. And it's going to either be a very brave decision onto slicks or a very short-term decision onto wets again, or inters, of course.
Daniel Kish is getting closer and closer to Michi Hoyer, but he's got a bad exit out of the chicane and is not able to make a move into turn 1. But as you said, you can see there's a... Oh, that was close. You can see there's a bit of a try line forming up.
Indeed. Stefanko sort of crossing into no man's land, really, hoping to join on to Simoncic there. Stefanko doing a 44.1 last time round. Yeah, the top two, Patel and Callis, are into the mid 143s, low 143s. Journey and Stefanko low 144s. D'Alessandro's in the 143, so he's one of the top 3 quickest guys on the track at the moment, D'Alessandro. So he is not sitting around. And this is one of the fabulous things about the rFactor 2 simulation, that we can run real world weather, including rain, and we can offer full wets and intermediate tyres. So we've got 4 tyre compounds, we've got real weather, day-night transitions. You just can't beat it.
And Risto Kappa just managed to do the fastest lap of the race at 43.1, and Mohamed Patel just managed to top that with a 42.7, and Sander Callis into the pits.
Well, what's Sander going to do? I wonder what the crossover lap time is. I mean, a dry lap is in the 132.
He's going on inters.
Ah, okay, Sander's gone on to inters.
And he's putting up... He stopped for a very, very long time, so he has very much fuel in his car now. That was an unusual long pit stop.
And Sander must have had
and
no
he just
choice.
comes out in front of Kish, who managed to overtake Michi Hoyer up the pit straight into turn 1.
Okay. So I'm thinking Sander Callis had no choice to pit. That would have been a fuel level situation causing him to pit. And he had to toss the coin and say, well, I'm not going to go for slicks. No point going for wet. So he's hedged his bets and gone for inters. Which, interestingly enough, I mean, you probably would... I would have thought if his inters are only going to be useful for a maximum of probably 5 or 6 laps. So perhaps he could have gone short fuel for this little stint and be really, really quick on the inters.
Yeah.
But what would I know?
And just as a side note, D'Alessandro is the fastest on track. A second faster than Patel last lap, 2 seconds faster than Stefanko in front of him.
Florian Becker just exited the pit on inters as well. Yeah, D'Alessandro's flying now that the track's drying a bit. Maybe he's going to be the quickest guy of all once the track fully dries out. Or maybe he just caught that bit of track just with a bit wider drying line. But certainly, Mohamed Patel into the pits, this just makes it so much more exciting. And this is the thing, this transition from wet to drying line. So Patel also grabbing the inters.
Let's see where he can come out.
And you know what? I'm just thinking Daniel Kiss is still on full wets. It was Callis that switched to inters.
And D'Alessandro another fastest lap.
So fastest man on the track. Risto Capit's just done a 41.5. So what's the lap time for dry tyres? Well, it's probably more about how wide's the drying line, but I would imagine, let's just pick a number, 33, that if they can go quicker than a 36 on the inters, it probably means there's enough of a drying line to put dry tyres on.
I think it's even before that, somewhere around 38, 39s, I think.
Yep.
And go to the dry tires.
And if that happened any time after about 6 or 7 laps from now, that's you can make it home from there on the prime.
Simmons just set the fastest first sector on his wet tire. So he's picking up some speed.
He is indeed. The only thing about doing it on primes is with high fuel and a bit of a damp track, that would be a pretty ugly opening handful of laps with a full tanks and a prime tyre on a wet and drying track.
And Sander Carlos, purple sector 2 on the inters, while Gianni Simoncic just set the fastest lap of the race. And
so looks like we're in a period where wets and inters are both working well. D'Alessandro has just entered the pits. I'll tell you what tyre he takes.
And Sander Carlos is 7/10 faster than Gianni Simoncic on his inters.
The Journey has just gone purple in sector 1. Gone quicker than Sanders last time around sector 1. D'Alessandro onto the inters, so that the simulation working perfectly. The inter is the tyre to have in these mixed conditions, but the inters do tend to burn out if the track dries too much, unlike the wets, which are pretty hard, pretty durable. So several of the drivers, if they've got enough fuel, probably will just jump from full wet to slicks. So D'Alessandro has rejoined behind Lucas Schmidt, so only 10 seconds behind the leader.
Michi Hoyer spins out of Degner 2 and makes contact with Gosby, who loses his front wing. Oh no. Let's show a replay of this. So he runs, Michi runs right in Degner 1, then goes out on the red patch, and Martin Gosby just hits him and he spins out after Degner 2.
What a shame. Oh, half a tenth of a second later and Martin Gosby would have cleared him. So that was just Michi getting throttle oversteer because the left side of his car was on the grass. So real shame.
And behind them, Lucas Schmidt and Masciuli side by side, I think. D'Alessandro it is. Yeah, D'Alessandro up to P7 now on his inters. Daniel Kish is in the pits.
Yeah, Kiss onto the inters as well.
Muhammad Patel is 1.5 seconds faster than Simoncic on the inters.
So what is Journey going to do? Is Journey going to... It's still too early for dry tyres. That drying line is just too narrow for my money.
If he wants to risk... He needs to win this race.
Yeah, he's got to risk it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he needs to go on the dry tyres in like 2 laps.
Yeah, it's a win or bust scenario. There is no percentage in him just playing safe, because if he just does it colour by numbers, he's going to come behind Mohammed Patel. He needs to make a brave call.
And the dry line is actually dry. There is no spray behind Simoncic's car when he is completely on the dry line.
Yeah.
Problem will be sector 1.
And the trick is when you've just put a couple of wheels off the dry line with slicks, and you are just in all sorts of problems. A 1:41 last time round, so he's now 2 seconds a lap slower than Patel. But he's got a chance. He's got a chance on the next crossover, because Patel's got to stop again to get rid of these inters.
And Patel is coming up to Martin Stefanko now, who's on the wet tires. And the thing is, as soon as he tries to overtake Stefanko, he needs to go on the wet part of the track.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be ugly. So if Stefanko drives his car like a slot car, like a Scale Xtrix, and just stays on that dry line, there is not much Patel can do. So And that's what Journey needs Stefanko to do, to stay on the dry line and not give Patel that opportunity to overtake. So it's wet tyres versus inters. Patel on the faster tyre, but certainly the wet tyres are still drivable. They've not totally gone away. Valeriano into the pits, by the way.
And let's see, Patel, will he make a move into Spoon? He will. That's brave.
Valeriano onto inters as well.
Patel is gaining. I don't think he will try it into 130R. Yeah, backs out of it.
Is he second guessing Stefanko and he's thinking
that was a pretty good move.
That was a stunning move, because what he did was he owned the dry line then, didn't he? He got Stefanko to protect the inside, and that gave himself the dry line. Whereas in fact Stefanko might have had the choice there of stick on the dry line and make Mohammed put it up the inside, but that would have also been a very high risk move for him, because had Patel not pulled it off, there would have been contact. There would have been Senna-Prost style contact in the final chicane, 1988 style. So the gap is still, Patel, 8.2 seconds to Journey.
Journey needs to pit within 2 laps. Otherwise, he will have Patel on his back and he will get overtaken.
And Journey's car seems to be just being a bit wayward now. Patel took half a second out of him just in Sector 1 that time. So will Journey Simoncic risk it? Will Journey go for the dry tyres, the slick tyres? Schmidt is in the pits for inters. Roslan is in the pits taking on options.
And Lucas Schmidt just DNF'd.
So you do what you're doing. I'm going to stay on board with Roslan for a second, and I'm just going to see how he gets on with the slicks.
I'll just take a look why Lucas Schmidt DNF'd.
And what I'll do, I'll have a look at Roslan's Sector 2 time.
Oh, he just retired at his pit stop. Strange thing. So Patel gained nearly 2.5 seconds in the last lap on Simoncic.
Roslan's first half of his lap on the slicks is looking okay. I'll have a Sector 2 time in another 15 seconds or so. But essentially, the slicks are looking okay. So, but you know what? It probably doesn't matter much.
Oh, I just got told by our race director that Lucas Schmidt lost his rear wing before going into the pits. That's why he retired.
Oh, okay. Okay, Roslan, Sector 2, 45.0. Not quick, not bad. So, yeah, probably a couple of laps too early. But, yeah, Journey's losing 2 seconds a lap now to Mohammed Patel. Roslan, our first option runner, our first dry tyre runner. Oh, big, he loses it big time into turn 1. Unfortunately for him, there's a big apron there. So
Is he stuck?
He slid off onto the apron, but he's retired. He didn't hit anything. Oh, I don't know what's happening there. So yeah, still a bit risky on the dry tyre. So I guess from Journey's point of view, until Mo is on his gearbox, they're basically in an equal status insofar as they've both got to pit one more time. Mo is going to have to pit for dry tyres. Journey has to pit for dry tyres. So at the moment, there's a complete reset, although another couple of laps.
Masciuli just went on 2 dries. He's on options.
Okay.
The thing is, as soon as Patel is on Simonsic's gearbox, he will just drive past him, because the top speed of Simonic is just so low.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Valkyravi entering the pits. And he is switching to prime. So Valkyravi is 1-stopping.
I think
and that's
this lap is the lap to go for Simonic.
Yeah.
If he wants to stay ahead.
So that was interesting. Valkyravi decided to go for a 1-stop strategy, or certainly he was fueled for a 1-stop. Because I don't think he'd stopped prior. No, he ran a 24-lap opening stint, so he did half race distance on those that initial set of wet tyres.
Simonic is spitting.
Okay, Journey's made the call. So our race leader and our number 2 driver in the championship title hunt pits. My money says he'll take primes and run them home from here. He's turning this into a 1-stop.
He's taking inters.
He's taking inters. Taking inters. What's that about? Wow. Okay. That's
surprise. Not a decision which wins him the championship.
No, that is a big surprise, because all he's done there is cover Mohammed. So basically now Mohammed's going to be 15 seconds up the road, and both of them in a similar position in terms of the next pit stop. So yeah, that was a surprise. I guess he probably had feedback that the dry tyres weren't working yet, but
by that he lost the position to D'Alessandro now. Like, it didn't make any sense that he runs 25 laps and then goes on to the inters.
No. I wonder if there was somehow a miscommunication, whether or not he'd not selected the correct tyre for his stop. But that is a major drama for Journey Simicic in terms of keeping this championship title chase alive. So we're back to the old firm. We've got Patel in P1, Callis P2, Stefanko P3, D'Alessandro P4. And I'm keen to see how these dry tyres are going to work
and
for people.
Jos Arenada is right behind Valkyravi on wet tyres against the prime tyres of Timo.
Ah, interesting.
But Timo just tries. Oh no, Timo! He goes onto the wet patch in sector 1, and his car goes off.
So there's our answer. It is just too scary on dry tyres at the moment. It hasn't worked for anybody yet. Well, Masciuli is on the dry tyres.
He is, yeah.
His first sector time was okay. It was fine, actually.
He did a 39.8 in the last lap on the options. That's still 2 seconds slower than our fastest lap from Daniel Kish just now.
And it's like walking a tightrope at 300 kilometres per hour when you've got to stay on that strip of dry road. And Masciuli does it very well through 130R, just absolutely stays on the dry strip. And Masciuli's sector 2 was pretty good, a 42.8.
And he is only 4/10 slower than the fastest lap on his option tyre.
Okay, so we have. It would seem that we've now arrived at the crossover. Pretty much exactly half race distance. So Patel in a good position now. Callis will be throwing everything at him. But both of them on the inters. Stefanko's still out there on the wets.
He is, yeah. He will
in
surely
P3.
go to the options or primes when he needs.
He's not bothering to move onto the damp part of the track to cool the tyres. But still managing to circulate last time round, 141. He's 2 seconds off the pace, well in fact 3 seconds off Sander Callis's pace. But I guess Stefanko wants to make sure he's in a podium position. He wants to make sure that he changes over at exactly the right time. Valkyrie is on the grass there. Stefanko passes him. Looks like he's having more dramas on his dry tyres. Journey's just set the fastest race of the lap with a 1:37.7.
Fastest race of the lap, he said.
Oh, sorry, the fastest lap of the race. Thank you for picking me up on that. I would have kept saying that all night. So fastest lap of race. And I'm intrigued by how long Stefanko is going to go on these wet tyres.
Eris Mascioli just set the fastest lap on the option tyre. I think now the time has come where the trial tires is faster if you're able to stay on the trial line.
Yep. Now, frustrating as it would be for Journey, really his only chance of making something happen now is to make the call earlier and better than Mohammed Patel does. Although, of course, he's 20 seconds back now. Yeah. So it would have to be the most massive wet, dry undercut of all time.
Stefanko's pitting.
Yep. Stefanko heading in. Reminiscent of the Mark Webber undercut on Sebastian Vettel that caused the whole multi-map 2-1 drama.
Let's see where Stefanko can come out. I think it will be... oh no, Stefanko misses his pit box.
He's overshot. Oh, that's upsetting when that happens. Because, of course, what happens in the pit lane, it gets rained on, but it doesn't get any drying line. So it's such a common thing to enter the pit lane and forget that the pit lane's wet because no one's driving on the pit lane. So Stefanko's out on dry tyres. He needs to get over onto that drying line and get safely. His heart beat to be about 200 at the moment as he negotiates his first time through turn 1, turn 2 on dry tyres, and now he's just got to glue that car down to that strip of dry road. But Stefanko has got a chance of consolidating himself into a really, really strong P3 now if he can get these next couple of laps done in a tidy manner. Or as the Welsh would say, tidy.
So now the interesting thing is coming. Mascioli is running up to Martin Gosby, but he won't be able to overtake him because he can't go on the wet line with his option tire. Oh, and Gosby makes a mistake, just as I said it, and Mascioli is past him.
Now
oh no, he makes also a mistake and goes on the wet line.
Oh. It's tiptoe, isn't it? You've got to tiptoe, you can't really pass people. Now that's the thing, I suppose. You don't want to put yourself behind somebody on a wet tyre who's going slower than you on the drying line. Now, is Simicic catching D'Alessandro? I think he is, because Simicic, about similar lap time last time round, but the previous lap, Simicic is really starting to get close to Michele D'Alessandro for P3. So Simicic fighting back now, big time. D'Alessandro's been very quick this afternoon here at Suzuka. Simicic has not really had any amazing lap times yet, but it's his time now to really, really pull something. And he seems very, very focused and determined on catching D'Alessandro and at least putting him under some massive pressure before the switch to dry tyres.
But every overtaking Simicic wants to do this race, he needs to do by overcutting or undercutting, because his top speed is so low. He won't be able to overtake anyone, even in the slipstream.
No, indeed.
And Mascioli just made a tiny mistake in Sector 1, which opened up a gap to Martin Gosby in front.
I'm just watching Stefanko into Spoon, just to have a look at his telemetry, his movements of throttle and brake. And he's looking pretty strong on those primes. I think Stefanko is very happy and comfortable on those primes now. He set a personal best Sector 2 and one of the fastest Sector 2s, if not almost the fastest Sector 2 so far of the race.
Oh, Masciuli is close to Martin Gosby now. I don't think he will be able... Oh, he tries it into 130R. You can't... You're on the wet patch, you can't do this. Smart move from him to back out of there. That would have been a massive crash.
Okay, Stefanko just did a 137.45, so Stefanko is now the fastest car on the track.
And Masciuli just did a 42.1 in the middle sector going purple. He's making a move on Gosby now.
On Gosby, and Masciuli's he's got on side, but he's on the wet bit. Oh, Eros Masciuli, how are you going to do it? And he simply bumps Martin Gosby off the dry bit of track that he wanted. So that's one approach. He said, "I'm on the wet bit, but I need that dry bit. Move over, get out of my way." So a bit of wheel banging.
Oh,
there,
and he goes off.
Oh no! And all that fantastic work's been undone.
Oh no!
Oh, the car is just absolutely unresponsive off the drying line. He's making a mental note to himself: stay in the drying line, stay in the drying line. Stefanko didn't have a good sector 1. I wasn't on board with him. I'm not sure what happened.
He's probably went off too.
Yeah. Must have just gotten off that drying line.
He did the same sector 1 time as Masciuli, so he surely went off there somewhere.
But a good sector 2. So yeah, it is still.
Oh, Masciuli is just right behind Gosby again. I think Gosby just made a mistake in the spoon.
This is like...
Oh, he spun actually. I think Martin Gosby just spun and spoon.
Masciuli making the big move. Gosby saying, now this time I want the dry bit, thank you very much. And Masciuli is pretty close, so what he's got to try to do is clear him so he can drive on a dry bit of road into the S-curves, but is he too far back?
Would he try it again and want the inside? Martin just needs to stay on the outside.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
in fact,
take a
I thought for a moment that Martin might even move to the inside and dare Masciuli to drive around the outside, because he's only got to put a little bit of rubber on the wet road there, and it's all a world of pain.
Let's take a look what happened to Gosby and Spoon in the last lap.
Stefanko fastest of all in sector 1 that time round.
Oh yeah, Martin went wide there, going onto the curb, then on the wet patch.
While Masciuli attacking Gosby into the hairpin. Fantastic move. He just got better drive out of Degner 2 and really out-dragged Gosby on the approach to the hairpin.
I'll just show replay as I missed that on stream.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. I'm going to go back so I can get the full benefit of that.
Yeah, Gosby run a bit wide there. Oh, and they even made contact out of Degner too.
And Gosby's exit wasn't actually that bad, so it just must have been a fantastic exit from Masciuli to put him in that position to attack. So these two guys have provided us some enormous entertainment. I wonder if Gosby is soon going to be switching off the inters onto the dry tyre, although
Stefanko is the fastest driver on the track right now, doing the only driver into the 36s.
Yeah, Stefanko looks like he's pretty happy on those primes now. He's come up, he's behind Jos Araneda. Oh, hang on, okay, Jos Areneda's a lapped car. Oh no, and Jos Araneda really taking big steps to make it an easy pass, moved offline, lost his rhythm, lost his grip, got on the wet part of the road, and I think, yeah, Jos Araneda, through trying to be too kind, has lost his front wing, so I think he may even retire. So a real shame for him.
Let's take a look at the replay. Oh yeah, he was right at front of Stefanko. Stefanko was up his gearbox.
He moved off to the side.
Oh yeah.
Onto the wet line, I think it was between Degner 1 and Degner 2, and just got himself all bent out of shape. So it's a real skill being overtaken. Stefanko 36.983 last time round. What's he going to do this time?
Cameron just said in the YouTube chat that Martin Gosby had the double shift out of Degner 2, which was why Masciuli was so much faster at the exit.
That's what it was. Stefanko a 37.5, so not as quick as the previous lap.
Masciuli purple sector 1, purple sector 2.
And just a shout out to any viewers watching the stream. I know a lot of our regular watchers are very, very informed and don't need to ask questions of Peter or I. But if you do have any questions, if you use the hashtag AskFSR, we will from time to time, when there's no action on track, which may not happen in fact, we will try to keep an eye on the chat and come back to you.
And Masciuli just did a 35.3. By far the fastest lap of the race on his option tyre.
So Masciuli flying, but of course he's going to need to pit again, isn't he? Because he got on these tyres. Well, let me see what lap he grabbed them. Yeah, he's 10 laps into this option stint, and there's 20 laps to go. So he's not going to do 30 laps on these. So he is really going to need to do something impressive, because he's got to pit again. Whereas Stefanko, who's ahead of him on track, Callis into the pits. Stefanko, of course, won't stop again. Now, Sander Callis has gone from off the inters onto the options, and he can drive home from here. He can easily do 20 laps.
I just saw Fleck to Flecker off track. Who was that? I think that was Florian Becker. And Simoncic is right up behind Michele D'Alessandro, but made a little mistake there into the S's. Yeah, and
so
you know what? Sanders pitting one or two laps earlier than Patel means he gets an undercut from 2 to 3 seconds right now, which could mean that he overtakes Patel. Who Journey does? Well, they've got this 17-second gap between the two of them. If they've both got to pit again, they'll still be at 17 seconds, won't they? Yeah, but I mean, Sander Carles, because he's on option now, he will be 2 to 4 seconds faster than Patel.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's only. What do you think the pit lane delta is here? 24 seconds or something like that?
About 25, I think. 23 to 25.
So good call. He's only got to pull in 6 seconds, and Patel's responded. Mohammed Patel's responded because he doesn't want him to get within 25 seconds.
Let's see. D'Alessandro is pitting and Simon just stays out, so his strategy call just got even worse. Simon just staying out and he's losing even more time to the leaders.
So
okay,
he's
let's take a look at Patel. Oh no, he will stay in front of Carlos.
So Journey's feeling pretty good on these inters, doing 37.3. But the guys on dry tyres are going, going half a second to a second quicker. Masciuli did a 35.1 last time round. So, yeah, there's no longer any point Journey staying on these inters. And, I'll stress, of course, it's very easy for us to be the armchair experts and criticise from here. If we were quick enough as to race with these guys, we'd probably be racing with these guys. So I'm just a humble driver in pro who likes thinking about Formula One, and Formula Sim racing. Risto Caput leaving the pits on primes. Interesting call, because he's an easy stint from home on options, really. Although I suppose the options 18 laps in are starting to be less than their best. The other thing that happens behind the scenes here for our viewers is there will be a front wing change.
And I hear crashing noises. I think Sander Carlos is spun. Is Sander Carlos DNF'd?
And damage. Oh,
no.
What a shame.
Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, so he won't get 2 victories at Suzuka this weekend.
He wasn't actually on red tires. The replay just showed the wrong tires. For everybody interested.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I didn't know that. So entry to Spoon.
Oh,
so
yeah.
12.
He went onto the red line in Spoon.
Yeah. And Spoon is a pretty fast entry. So if you get off the drying line there, you are.
Or was he actually on red tires?
Let me tell you.
Because
Callis.
Race Fear also shows red tires for Carlos.
It does, and Yeah, it's not telling me his tyres now. He might have still been on. Oh, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
And Simoncic pitted and is up to P2, so he actually managed to overcut D'Alessandro.
I don't think Simoncic has pitted. He's still on the inters. I think he's in P2 because he hasn't pitted.
No, he has pitted. He's on options now.
Oh, you know what I've done? I was back in. So Simoncic. Okay, I've got a glitch here. I'm showing Simoncic on inters, and yeah, it'll settle out in a minute, I guess, because on the race view, and for any of our viewers, if you're wondering how we can see what lap times they're doing, what sectors they're doing, what tyres they're on, we use race view, and the link for that is underneath the stream. And the other thing I'd like to mention, which Ron Squire asked us to mention on air, is we are on Twitter. So if you want to follow Formula Sim Racing on Twitter, the address is below the stream here, and you can get updates on the race, mid-race, on the results, etc. So
D'Alessandro is gaining on Simoncic.
Oh, big battle into 130R.
The only thing Simoncic has to do now is stay on the try line, and D'Alessandro shouldn't be able to overtake.
Yeah, certainly for a while, but I think we did notice that he's got a pretty big overspeed.
D'Alessandro is with... and he runs wide.
He's gone wide, he's drifted onto the wet stuff on the outside. That turn one is the treacherous one, isn't it?
And
Stefanko is through.
Oh, and he spins again.
Stefanko is through. Kiss won't get him, but Stefanko got him. So Stefanko is going to be feeling like it's Christmas. He's back in P3. He's on his primes. He doesn't have to stop again. So yeah, the drivers, when they pit to go from wet tyres to dry tyres, as well as ordering the different tyres, they will more often than not change front wing, because you've got to run a lot more wing on the rear to get a good balance in the wet. So correspondingly, when you come back in and go for a dry setup, you're going to be adding front wing to get the balance back for the dry tyres and the dry conditions. So Stefanko, he's had a good afternoon. He made a good call to go into those primes early, survived with a couple of little mishaps, and he's in line for a shot at a podium.
And James Sadler and Giordano Variano just pitting now. Yeah, they were both still running on inters, that's why.
Now, what we didn't announce last week in Singapore was that Musto Racing actually sealed the Constructor Championship, courtesy of the points aggregated by Mohammed Patel and Daniel Kiss. So fantastic effort for them. But this afternoon, we're 15 laps away from the checkered flag, and if things stay as they are, Mohammed Patel will take the Formula Sim Racing World Championship crown. Valeriano did a good job moving out of the way then.
Yeah, it was a bit close.
Becker has had contact. I think it might have just been the bollard at the Casio Triangle, but Becker is on the wet line on the pit straight, and the car is not looking very happy at all. I know, Becker overshot the hairpin, the final hairpin. Got a couple of wheels off the track, did a bit of a half spin, and then he's moved right.
And I think D'Alessandro was also off track again.
Yeah, Capit, he had to let Capit through, and it put Becker on the wet part of the track, and the car was not happy for a little while then.
Oh, D'Alessandro run wide at 130R, but managed to come back on track without spinning out.
All right.
Oh, and somebody is missing
now,
the front wing.
Are you still back in replay? Because
No.
D'Alessandro is just approaching 130R now on my screen.
Daniel Kish lost his front wing, actually. He's driving without a front wing. Let's see what happened there.
So, timings wise, Mohammed Patel, race leader, fastest lap last time round with a 1:35.385. Those lap times will probably come down by another couple of seconds as this drying line gets wider and the drivers don't have to quite so studiously avoid the damp bits.
And Daniel Kish can be lucky that he's still in the race. He went onto the onto the wet patch into turn 1 and just understeered, just straight into the wall, lost his front wing. But seems to not have that much of suspension damage.
But he is heading into the pits. He's tapped the Armco on the way into the pits, and the car is not going to like wet pit lane without a front wing either. So okay, so repairs in order for Daniel Kiss. Tragic race and the the wet pit lane caught him because he slightly overshot. Real shame for the outcome of Singapore, and a big shout out. Daniel Kiss drove a fantastic race and had earned P2 in Singapore, but had a connection problem just a handful of laps from the end, running in a very strong, very consolidated P2, and was disconnected. So real shame for Daniel Kiss. No slouch, and a race winner this season and in previous seasons. Remember 2 years ago, Daniel Kiss won Melbourne in Ace and in World Championship prior to deciding to move up to World Championship. Oh, I can hear noises.
I think that's Valeriano.
James Sadler's just had an off. And yet again it was turn 1 causing the problems.
Oh, and that doesn't help.
Yeah, Sadler's drifted wide into turn 1, and then he seems to have hit. Or yeah, he's hit the crash barrier, the tyre barrier on the outside, stuffed some front wing damage, and then to add insult to injury, he's driven over that's the very same front wing, which has just flicked the car skywards. So they can be quite a pain in the neck once you've lost the front wing if you get it caught under the chassis. Who did that in Monza? Mark Webber did. Drove half a lap with his front wing wedged under the front of his car and then understeered off at Parabolica. So 7 drivers on the lead lap, and that's the thing, a wet race will do that. It just provides such an enormous challenge that there's a bigger separation than we normally get. So sadly heading back to the pits, I guess.
Valeriano and Florian Becker both DNF'd this lap. Let's take a look what happened to both of them. Oh, Valeriano made the same mistake as Sadler and as Daniel Kish. He ran right in turn 1 and then lost it coming back onto the track. And
Becker did the same. He ran wide into turn 1, got on the wet stuff, and you could actually see, as he approached the crash barrier, you could see James Sadler's wing already sitting there. So who's ever hunting for souvenirs at that particular corner has had a good afternoon. They've been going home with a couple of front wings. So the challenge of this wet race is so huge that we now just have 10 runners left in World Championship. Sadler approaching his pit box. Will he remember to brake really early because it's wet and he's on slick tyres, or will he need to reverse back again? No, nicely done. Gets himself right on his mark. And James will rejoin shortly with a fresh set of tyres and a new front wing. Yep, front wing is on and James Sadler is away. And all he's got to do is bring it home now and win points, because top 10 score points in World Championship. In Ace, it's the top 15, and in Pro, it's the top 15. But in World Championship, you need to get in the top 10. So all runners now are, of course, in the top 10, and James will get himself World Championship point if he just brings it home, if he just avoids those wet patches.
And Mascioli is still flying. He's the fastest man on track right now, with a 34.1 in the last lap.
That is getting quick. In fact, it's probably within a second now of dry pace. So if you're interested in Formula Sim racing, if you're thinking about getting involved, all you need is a reasonable quality gaming PC and the fantastic bargain that is known as rFactor 2. In my opinion, the best race simulation available, and certainly one of the best value. It's only 30 or 35 pounds for a lifetime subscription to rFactor 2. All the tracks are free, all the cars are free, and you can come on the FSR server and you can practice during the week, compare yourself against some of the best drivers in the world. We only password protect it prior to official practice before qualifying, but the rest of the time you can dive in there and you can drive these same cars. You can get into your favourite driver's car and see what lap times you can manage, and you will see how deep the challenge is in FSR. But come and get involved. We have a winter series each winter, and that's where a great place to get your feet wet, to see if you've got the form, and for teams to see what sort of pace you've got. And a lot of the drivers on the grid now really have been talent that's been discovered during the winter series. It's a little bit more low-key, a little bit more casual. We normally pick a different car, a fun car. We've had historic cars from '92. We've had the Indy car. So, yeah, please come along. If you're fast where you race and you'd like to measure yourself against the best guys in the world, come along and get involved.
And it's raining again. It started to rain.
Oh, wow. I can't believe it.
And they're all going into the pit lane, and I think they will all go into the wet tires.
Wets or inters, I wonder.
The thing
So
is, after 2 or 3 laps, the inters, it will be too wet for inters. They need to go.
Patel is in sector 1. Simoncic is in the pits.
Oh.
So Patel drove past the pit lane, and Simoncic is on wets. So let's see what sort of a lap Patel...
Yeah, they're going... And Stefanko missed his pit box again. He needs to reverse again.
So Patel is now approaching the hairpin on slick tyres in heavy rain and just feeling his way around. I'm going to go onto a cockpit view to see how he's feeling with his inputs. And you know, I don't think it's reached that critical level yet. But the other thing the guys have got to remember to do is switch the front wing again. That's how Michi Hoyer, he only had a couple of seconds to decide to pit in Hungary. Yeah, it's getting slippery now for Mo Patel on those slick tyres. With only a few seconds up their sleeve, they dive in there. They've got to, in the pit menu, they've got to select which tyre they want, and they may or may not remember, may or may not have time to reduce the amount of front wing, and if they don't, they end up with an understeery animal of a car. Mo's had dramas in the Casio Triangle. Hasn't lost much time yet, but he is in the pits. Let's see if Mohammed Patel manages to stop on his mark. He's normally very precise. He's okay. Yeah, he stopped in the right place. Got the full wets. Well, we've had it all. Wet quali, wets, inters, slicks, back to wets. So Mother Nature has thrown it all at us. So
he still has a huge gap to Journey.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah. Mo's safely around turn 1. Journey on the pit straight. So in fact, he's got a bigger gap than he had before. I don't quite know how that happened.
No, I think it shrank down. It was like 17 seconds.
It was 15 seconds, 17 seconds. So I guess once they complete a sector, we'll get a reading on it. But Stefanko looks like he's only about 10 seconds behind Journey now.
I lost quite a bit of time in the pit stop because he needed to reverse again. He
right.
overshot his pit box.
So at this stage, with 10 laps to go, it looks like our podium...
Oh, and Daniel Kish just DNF'd, I see. Let's take a look what happened there. Oh. He lost it under acceleration out of spoon.
Okay, well, I won't go back and search for that one myself. I'll let you...
Oh yeah, he oversteered when he went onto the throttle, lost his front wing going into the wall, then had suspension damage. And when he tried to go around 130R, his car just went straight into the wall.
Yeah, the gap is 12 seconds now between Mohammed Patel and Journey. So Journey did pick up a handful of seconds by managing to pit without doing that extra lap that Mohammed Patel was forced to do when the rain came. So he did his best, and he found some time, and he's now 12 or 13 seconds. In fact, he's about to click into 13 seconds back from Mohammed Patel. So fantastic drive from both these guys, and it's no coincidence that they're first and second in the championship hunt. DeFranco's going to move up a few points, although he's not going to catch D'Alessandro. D'Alessandro has 80 points at the moment, Stefanko 49. Stefanko's missed a few races, so he's not going to affect his championship position, but he's certainly going to impact his number of podiums, because he's only had one podium so far. So he's at the moment staring down the barrel of his second podium in FSR World Championship. So Mohammed Patel now, with 8 laps remaining, has one hand on the trophy. And what a season it's been. I mean, Mohammed Patel last year pushed Peter Briac incredibly hard. Peter Briac took the title.
We just got a question in the YouTube chat. Willem Van Haren asked if Kiss will be classified in this race, as he hasn't completed 90% of the race distance. That's correct, he won't receive any points because he DNF'd in lap 44 it was, I think, which is under 90% of the race.
Yeah, that's a good question though. Yeah, 48 odd laps. Somebody who's better at mental arithmetic than me can do it. But amazing race. What a challenging race for these guys. The gap now out to 13 seconds. Stefanko in P3. Michele D'Alessandro, and he's had a hard charging race. Michele D'Alessandro has done some of the fastest laps we've seen today. He's really been on it. And Risto Caput from Vodbull Storm Charge, or Storm Charge Vodbull, in a very, very credible and strong P5. And Eros Masculi in P6 now, the last of the unlapped drivers. Martin Gosby's car misbehaving a little bit on corner exit, and I'm just wondering if he's got potentially a bit of an aero imbalance. He's certainly feathering the throttle on the exit of the hairpin.
Oh, Johnny spins out of the hairpin. Oh no, he might lose his P2 for that. It's close, but he still has 1.5 second gap to Stefanko.
Oh, Stefanko is getting close. Yeah, wow. Well, the Journey's got the underlying pace. He was a second quicker last time around, but it's amazing how motivated you can be when the guy you're chasing is visible. So Stefanko may start to push just that little bit harder. So the excitement and the curveballs that this, I mean, I know I harp on about it, but it is just so exciting and so unpredictable having weather and having rain, because you just don't know. And if you're prepping yourself for a dry weather race, you're going to do, 200-300 laps, just fine-tuning your setup, fine-tuning your own performance and trying to get where you need to get. But if you're in ACE or World Championship, you've then got to think, well, hang on, I've got to do a wet setup. And you'll have a look at the forecast on Friday, and if it looks like there might be some rain, you'll spend half your time working on wet setup. And it is very, very hard driving these cars in the rain. You can do it, but everything's got to be perfect. A moment of inattention, and some of the best drivers around having all sorts of bother. So yeah, it's less than 2 seconds between Stefanko and Simoncic. 6 laps to go. So much has happened. It's going to be interesting doing the interviews, Peter, because there's so much has happened in this race. Where do we start and where do we stop?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've got to ask Stefanko how the first couple of laps on the primes felt. That's definitely going to be a question. And going to ask Journey why he didn't go directly to dry tyres off the wets.
I think that's a pretty interesting question.
So 5 laps to go.
It looks like Johnny has a bit of a problem going through the hairpin every lap. Last lap he spun there, this lap he lost like 3 or 4 tenths to Stefanko.
I'm going to watch him go through the next time round. Yeah, if you've got a car that's oversteery at all, that hairpin is diabolical because the car just wants to swap ends. You turn the car in and you've got a few, even in a Formula One car, you've got a few 100 kilos of engine and gearbox behind you. And the moment you start the car rotating, you just generate this rotational inertia. And in wet weather, that inertia can very, very easily exceed grip.
And I think Stefanko just had a bit of lag because he was more or less stationary and lost like a second to Simoncic.
Okay. Yes, I can see that now. He's now 2.5 seconds behind. It'll update on the next sector in race view.
Yeah, he lost 1.44 seconds in sector 1 to Johnny.
Yeah, I just watched a replay Journey through the hairpin that time, and he really had to be very ginger on the brakes, very gingerly on the brakes, and also short shift at very low RPM out of that hairpin. So I think that's a good observation you've made there. So it looks like Simoncic has got enough to keep Stefanko at bay for the time being. I wonder if the dry spell has caught anybody out in terms of fuel load, because if you're facing a wet race, it's normal to short fuel a little bit compared to a dry race.
Oh, and
Stefanko's run on the grass. Yeah, you with Stefanko? Yeah, just ran onto the grass there. Whether that was just a moment's inattention or lost the car. Because, of course, once it dried, they may need to quickly do some fuel calculations. So Simoncic has passed...
And I think it just stopped raining. Yep, it did.
Oh, God.
But it won't dry enough in the last
Mother
3
Nature
laps.
is just playing tricks with us now. Well, surely they won't change tyres now.
No.
We'll see.
They might be starting to form a bit of a dry line in the last lap or two.
Yeah.
But other than that, there won't be any changes in the tyres.
Yeah, we saw how long they managed to go on the wets before, so well into the drying line. So, yeah, no one's going to change now. But it will just get a bit interesting as it speeds up. There's a little witch's hat at the exit of the Casio Triangle, been sitting there for the last 20 laps or so. That somebody's knocked onto the track. So Gosby's been lapped now. His car's certainly not behaving super well in the wet.
Yeah, Martin lost another 3 seconds to Journey in this lap. So I think Journey is pretty safe in P2 now if he's not going off track.
And Martin Stefanko just coming up now to lap James Sadler. James is 2 laps down on the leaders, and if any of you think that's bad driving, you really want to come and have a go, because just to finish, well, proof of the pudding, 21 people started, there's only 9 people still circulating. Just to finish is an incredible achievement, and to finish a World Championship race in the dry unlapped is really, really good going. To finish it within 2 laps in the wet is probably pretty damn good going as well. I'm sure I couldn't manage it. So hats off to any of these drivers who've managed to keep it on the tarmac and basically in one piece for this whole race distance. Yeah, Stefanko will probably just want to bring it home now.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do. He's on the podium. And with 3 laps to go, nothing to fight more about.
So Mohammed Patel on lap 51 of 53. So this lap and then 2 more laps to complete in his chase for the World Championship title.
Yeah, and Chris Raby, the race engineer of Martin Stefanko, just said in chat that he's bringing the car home. Not trying to attack Jenny anymore.
Yeah, most of the World Championship drivers tend to have an engineer on the server, and that engineer will spot things, various things for them, including live telemetry on tyre wear, fuel loads, the weather, what their competitors are doing, and just try to help them optimize their strategy. And sometimes just to keep them on track, just sort of talk them and let them know what they need to focus on. So a good engineer can be very, very helpful. There's a very good virtual one now called Crew Chief, which I absolutely love. If I was faster, I'd have a real one, of course, but I've got to settle for a virtual one. So Sadler can see and Eric Andre ahead of him, but they're on different laps. And Eric Andre is a lap ahead, and of course that's due, no doubt, to the fact that James lost his front wing on the turn 1, turn 2 right-handers, and then had to limp back around the wet track with no front wing. So that costs you a lot of time, and that's probably the basis of James not being just on the same lap as an Eric Andre. Only 15 degrees on the circuit, so most of these guys probably would have taken the risk with the smallest radiator size. That's something they've got to manage. You look at the ambient temperature, and you'll do a few laps in the pre-quali practice, and just decide how much risk you're prepared to take on radiator size. If you push it too hard and the oil gets too hot, the engine will not last a full championship distance. So you've got to manage temperatures. They tend to peak at the pit stops.
And I just watched Patel through the hairpin in his last lap, and it sounded actually like he was giving throttle input every half a second.
Oh.
It sounded pretty interesting. I think he's doing his celebration run there in this last lap. Having a bit of fun. Yeah, and Mohamed Patel is actually entering the last chicane on his last lap of Suzuka. And when he's over the line, he will be our new world champion of Formula SimRacing. And there he is. He's celebrating down the pit straight.
Well, congratulations to Mohamed Patel. Sensational race, sensational season. Take out the title. Journey Simicic just now ran in the final bend himself to take second place in the event.
Martin Stefanko now coming out of the last chicane, coming up to the line and finishing in P3. Also pretty happy about it. Then Michele Di Alessandro is now going into 130R. Driving in P4, I'm pretty sure he's disappointed with that. Having driven a pretty good race altogether, but he made a few mistakes which cost him a possible second place.
he had some fantastic pace, and he might have arguably been able to fight for P3.
And Risto Caput finishes
fourth
in
is
P5.
no bad thing. Risto Caput in 5th, Masculi 6th. And we've got
Eros Mascioli now coming out of the last chicane, and is over the finish line now, finishing in P6. And Mohamed Patel doing some donuts in the Dunlop curve.
I'll just ask the podium winners to, or the podium getters to join us in TeamSpeak.
I think Patel is still busy celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty excited. What a sense of relief for Mohamed Patel. Michele D'Alessandro was saying, all luck. Christopher Cobb, the president, saying, congratulations, Mohamed Patel. Michele D'Alessandro is typing, all luck. What a sensational race.
That's a typical reaction of Michele, I have to say.
Yeah. So, did he get the fastest lap of the race as well? 1:34.3. No, Masculi was the fastest. Yep. So he got pole and the win, but not fastest lap. We better not tell him that.
Simoncic had the pole, not Patel.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, thank you very much. I'd forgotten already. I'm going to try with my questions this afternoon to be short and sweet and not turn the questions into a speech. So the guys will join us soon. Hopefully you've all really, really enjoyed that stream. That race decided the World Championship for 2017 for Mohamed Patel, British racer, fantastic, talented driver, and a very, very worthy second place in the championship from Journey Simoncic. So has third place been decided? It probably has, really. Gosby. Well, mathematically, it's possible for. No, it's probably not now for Kiss. I think the third place is probably decided, but we won't worry about that
Kiss
today.
Kiss could get 50 points if he wins both races, so he could get up to 177 points. And Gosby finished in P7, which means he has now how many points of P7?
So we've got Mohamed Patel with us. Oh. And I'd just like to start by saying congratulations, Mohamed Patel, on becoming the 2017 Formula Sim Racing World Champion. How does it feel?
Thanks a lot. I'm not sure. It feels awesome, but it's been working up to it. And the last couple of races, we had a bit of pressure from ENA that made me work again for the last 3 races. Because I was a bit worried after Spa to see him beat Michele, and Michele is always awesome at Spa. And then I was just fortunate at Singapore that he had his issues. And then today, I knew it was going to rain, but to practice in rain is frustrating, so we didn't do a lot, and it was just it had deja vu from round 1, to be honest. That's the best way I can put it.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, fantastic race. Driven strategically very, very well. So well done on that. Were there any moments where you were worried this afternoon?
Sander kept me honest. He made me focus a lot during the entire race. He was pretty much my pace. I just had the delta to him after overtaking Yene. And we were lucky. To be honest, we were a bit lucky today with the weather that it stopped raining just before my pit stop. Because I knew Yene was on a 1 stop. And if it continued to rain, probably he would definitely have track position over me. And it would be kind of like Barcelona, that I would accept he would be the one holding the train. So I would have to try to overtake him on circuit at the end. The rain, or the lack of rain, then helped. And I have to say thank you to Petter for telling me what fuel to put in that second pit stop, because he timed it perfectly. So the moment that I pitted for dries, it was just about the right time. So we didn't have too much fuel in that second stint, so it allowed me to manage the gap to Sander with ease. And he told me to just respond to Callas. And then when I went to primes, options in the second phase of the race, it was a bit tricky. So we had a lot of understeer and a lot of bottoming. So the car was like not fun at all to drive, but I was just trying to take it easy, make sure that, especially after Callas had his incident, I could just manage the gap to Yerne in behind.
That final pit stop looked like it might have been a bit of a hairy in-lap because, of course, it started raining, but you'd already passed the pit lane. And I think Journey managed to get into the pits a lap before you and gained maybe 3 or 4 seconds. The first 2/3 of that lap looked okay. The last third looked like it didn't feel so good.
Yeah. It's just unlucky, I was the first person to go across the line when it rained, so I couldn't have any chance to enter the pits. I was also quite lucky that I went through the 2 anti-cuts off the circuit in the Casio triangle.
Yes, we saw that.
But I also knew that all I had to do was not crash. So because I had like a 20-second advantage over Yerne, it was just a matter of getting to the pits in one piece. I didn't have to take risks. So on the in Spoon and 130R, I was totally off any limit. I was well under it just to make sure. But then in the chicane, I just couldn't get the car to work. So, well, I had practice of it from Hungary as well, to be honest. So I had a similar situation then.
Well, fantastic performance, and a worthy championship title win. So Mo, once again, congratulations to you on the awesome achievement of being world champion. I do have a question for Journey, but I just want to ask Peter Schulze if you want to ask Journey any questions.
No, I just want to congratulate him. Also want to tell him that our last year's champion, Jerome Krakel, just congratulated him in the YouTube chat. So massive well done on the season. Massive race today. It's tricky in these conditions. I drove it yesterday and I know I hate it. It was like the worst race I've ever driven. And yeah, massive congratulations.
Thanks, Jeroen. Means a lot from you. And yeah, today's race is not one that you enjoy. It's just one that you just want to finish. I don't think anyone really enjoyed today's race. It's just you just drive and you just don't know what's going on because you're always sliding in some part of the circuit. I was just lucky I had a Delta, and I was fortunate about when it stopped raining, so it just gave me some breathing room. Otherwise, Yerne could have won today with his strategy. But at least, I said to Yerne before this race, I really wanted to have a fight with him because we just haven't had a battle this season. And today, at least, although it was he had such a massive handicap in that moment with so much more fuel, but at least we could have a nice battle for a couple of laps, so it was fun.
So moving on to Journey, first of all, congratulations on getting pole today. You did what you needed to do in quali, and the race was looking pretty promising because it was clear you're on a one stop. But what happened on the first pit stop? Did your tyre choice? You went to inters. Was that a deliberate strategy? What was your thinking behind that, Journey?
Yeah, firstly, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Firstly, big congratulations to Mo for the championship. I'm really happy for you, Mo. It was amazing season. You really deserved it. And about my strategy, yeah, it's probably my record for the lowest amount of laps I done before the race. I was away for some days and just came home an hour and a half before the race, and I found it was raining, and I just put wings to the max. I had like 25 before that. I just put max rear wing and changed the setup. All the way, I don't think I left any. Yeah, I mean, totally different setup. So I was really happy to get the pole. But yeah, then of course. Barcelona is very fresh in my memory, so of course Barcelona is a little higher on tire wear than Suzuka, and there Mo won on one stop, so I told myself, and we talked with James to do one stop now. But of course, weather doesn't like me this season, so he decided to stop raining and screw up my strategy. But yeah, I did what I could.
Well, it's been an awesome contest this season, and you're a multiple race winner. I think 4 wins, and 3 of them coming in the last handful of events. Things didn't go your way in Singapore on the opening lap, but you fought back incredibly well at Singapore. So for us as commentators and for the viewers out there, it's been a titanic fight between you and Mo for the season, and you looks like you've got a pretty firm grip on second place in the championship hunt this year. You've still got to keep Gosby under control, but we have loved watching you race, Journey, and thank you very much for the performances that you've put out on track this season.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, and hopefully the last 2 rounds we actually finally have a real on-track battle with Mo. Well, we had one long battle in Sepang, but well, I had broken suspension, so wasn't totally fair. But yeah, I really hope that we can have some really nice moves and battles for the remaining of the season.
Cheers, Journey. So I do have a question for Martin Stefanko, but Peter Schulze, I'll allow you to. Do you want to start interviewing Martin and then come to me, or do you want me to speak to Martin?
Let's just start with, how was it to drive in the wets? I know you did a lot of try practice in the last days and probably only started today or yesterday doing some wet practice. So how was the race going in general for you?
Well, the car didn't feel too good because I was basically driving with the dry setup. I only changed the wings a little bit, so it wasn't really pleasant to drive, especially on exits. But yeah, I actually didn't have any wet practice. I started driving in the wet on the server today, so yeah, it wasn't sorry, wasn't yeah, easy to get used to it and get the maximum out of the car. But yeah, it's good to be on the podium. Of course, maybe if I wouldn't have overshot the pits twice, maybe I could have been second. But in the end, P3 was the maximum, and yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, congratulations on a fantastic podium. I mean, it was your second podium of the season, I think, Martin. I think you had one last year. Was it Hungary? You had a first or a second last year. But I think, if I'm correct, this was your second podium for 2017. The question I wanted to ask you was, how were those first 2 laps on the primes when you went straight from wets to primes?
Yeah, I mean it felt pretty good. I mean the grip was there, the car was turning in nicely. I mean on the drying track, I mean the car felt really good. But yeah, I made that mistake coming into turn 1 because I was too confident and I was going too quick into the corner. So, but yeah, it was tough because I was a little bit scared that it was too soon or that I'm gonna go wide, which I did, but. Managed to save it somewhat, and yeah, after that didn't make any mistakes on the drying track. So after that, it was pretty good.
Can I ask a technical question? You know, I'm a bit of an anorak with setups. Did you adjust the front wing for the dry tire set?
No, I actually stayed with the same wings on the drying track and on the wet track as well. So I basically didn't change anything during the race.
Okay, fantastic. Well done. And we might just go back one more time to Mohammed Patel, our newly crowned 2017 champion. Mo, if there's anything you want to say to us or to the viewers, you've got the mic, mate, to speak before we close it out.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to David Greco and Michele D'Alessandro, both guys that are like acting team managers, to giving us this opportunity, and also for them to allow us to have that awesome sponsorship with Thrustmaster that all 4 of us in the team got their new wheel. So hats off to them for securing that. I'd also like to say thanks to my teammates, Danny, Michele Eros, and also Petter for engineering us through the season. I know sometimes he's had a boring day, but today and Bahrain, he's helped us a lot. And also whenever he's driven with us just for fun, it was good fun and nice to have him there. And also a huge thanks to you guys for doing the broadcasts. It's good, and your questions have been awesome. So the additions that you made to the broadcast have really made it great. And last but not least, thanks to Chris for being race director. I know he doesn't enjoy it, and also for being president again, because he's been doing an awesome job with that. So hats off to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Mo.
Thank you.
So from me, I want to thank Peter Schulze for doing a fabulous job on broadcast cameras and in commentary, and thank our audience for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you at the next round in Circuit of America, where Mohammed Patel and Martin Stefanko and Journey Semicic will go at it again, just for the pure pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, David, for commentary. Thank you to all of you who watched us and listened to us, and thank you to the top 3 and all the other drivers for this awesome race. See you in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks? 3 weeks, actually.